Hey everybody, it's Michael, but before we start the show, we have some Patreon shout-outs for y'all. This is a big what up props. Thank you to all of you who have joined our Patreon, Bigfoot Collectors Club, The Other Side, since our last L-Files episode. So here we go. On your mark, get set, Sarah Ryland.
Thank you, Sarah.
Andrew Narroway.
Thank you, Andrew.
Daniel Sink.
Daniel, you're the man.
Just say thanks. It's fine. This is going to be a long, really long segment if you don't.
Okay.
Mackenzie Martin.
Thank you.
AJ Oslin.
Thank you.
Janice Santiago.
Thank you.
Megan Panis.
Thanks, Megan.
Crystal Keeney.
Thank you.
Allison Lucas.
Thank you, Allison.
Aaron Dunkel.
Thank you, Aaron.
Rosie Cooper.
Thanks, Rosie.
Ben Beltwood.
Thank you, Ben.
Gigi.
Thank you, Gigi.
Allie Reynolds.
Thank you, Allie.
Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie.
Simone Vey.
Thank you.
Stephen Grimm.
Thank you.
Rick Abney.
Thank you.
James Ruiz.
Thank you, James.
Janelle Gillian.
Thanks, Janelle.
Dylan Weaver.
Thank you, Dylan.
Shanna Lutke.
Thank you.
Jody added to her pledge. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you, Jody.
Rock.
Michael Mungia.
Thank you, Michael.
Gabriele Stefanelli.
Thank you.
Heather Corin Aspel.
Thank you.
Pete Anderson.
Thank you, Pete.
Jej.
Thank you.
Jason Wissinger.
Thanks, Jason.
Julie Kusumario.
Thank you.
My favorite name, Wolf Mungus, joined the $5 club. Thank you, Wolf.
Thanks, Wolf.
Kylie Wagner.
Thank you, Kylie.
Annalise San Miguel.
Thank you.
S. Nicole Ochoa.
Thank you.
Julie Steiger.
Thank you.
Really slow on these cues, Bryce.
What? I'm coming right
there?
in right after you. What are you talking about? Am I out? Can you hear
There's
me?
a delay, guys.
There's
a delay between.
There's a heavy 2-second gap.
That's
Dude,
the
I'm
internet.
I'm coming hot.
We all
off
hear
that.
the conversation slightly delayed off of each other.
Voiceover recorder. Okay, I've done promos for Taco Bell and Buick, so I know.
Are you playing, Bryce? Are you playing Animal Crossing while we're doing these shout-outs?
No, I promise you, I'm not. I'm lying in my bed.
It's a really good thing that we made our guests sit through this part.
I know, but you know why? Because last time we did it, and then we forgot about it for 2 weeks. So
that's true.
She's gonna have to suck it up. Julie Steiger.
Thank you, Julie.
Done. Christopher bumped up his pledge to $5. Thanks, Christopher.
Yeah, Chris. Thank you, buddy.
Torquil Dewar.
Thank you.
Mark Everton.
Thank you.
Santa. Oh boy, I'm so sorry. Santa Tander Bombassi giving Wolf Mungus a run for their money.
Thank you.
Rachel D.
Thanks, Rachel.
Emily Hignite. Thank you. Kenzie Anderson. Thank you. Eric Duman. Thank you. And this is a last-minute announcement we are adding in just moments, literally moments before we drop this episode. Patron Kirsten just updated her pledge. So we just now met our initial goal of $1,000 a month. This is huge. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, and thank you to all of you who support the show, especially during these crazy times. We are so thankful for all of you guys. All right, guys, join us over on the other side sometime. We're having a blast. Now, let's get started with today's show. Hit it.
It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host,
Bryce Johnson.
And our super producer,
Riley Bray.
What's up, guys?
Yes.
How's everybody doing?
Doing pretty good, man.
Crazy.
Are you losing it a little?
I might be losing it just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I know that today's guest knows everything about taking care of her health and wellness. Guys, you love her. She's been on the show a million times before. She really needs no introduction except to say that she's a comedian, actor, writer. She is the host of the podcast Having Funlessness with Jen Kirkman. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Jen Kirkman.
Yeah.
Hi. You forgot to say I'm the godmother of the podcast.
You are the godmother of the podcast. This is true. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
If our parents die, you'll totally take care of us.
It's almost Godmother's Day.
You'll raise us in the Catholic faith when mom and dad dies.
That's right.
Jen, how are you weathering the quarantine?
Well, the first few weeks was fine because I was on a job anyway, a writing job. So that involves a lot of sitting and working from home. And I didn't really get what everyone was being all hysterical about in terms of, oh my God, I'm so bored. I felt like after 3 days, people were losing it. I was like, I could be bored forever. And now I'm just angry all the time. It might be loneliness. It might be people not wearing their masks. But whenever I talk with people, like do a podcast or chat with a friend, I do feel immensely better. And then I catch myself in moments around the house feeling like, I should go back on meds. I think I have depression. And I have to keep reminding myself, you're lonely. And you're not lonely like boohoo, but like you're not doing anything with humans. Yeah.
This really is like if you were to orchestrate the perfect like incubator for depression, like what we're doing right now, if you live alone, is exactly that. You're like, boy, I'm just like up till 3 and waking up at 10 and I feel like I have no sense of purpose. Am I depressed? No, it's just quarantine.
It's just a pandemic. I've been trying to I like to get up at 6:30 anyway, so I still have been. But I don't need as much sleep because I'm not expending as much energy. But I take a walk every day for an hour, and I've been doing ballet class online for an hour. Still gained 11 pounds because I did a lot of stress eating.
You're doing ballet on an online class?
Yeah, it's really great. It's not even live. It's just a collection of videos, and I put together different combinations every day, and I love it. I mean, I took ballet my whole life, so I'm not learning from scratch, and they're easy. They're beginner level exercises. Did you edit together old Baryshnikov videos and now you're just dancing to them? I don't understand. I know. It's a website called Ballet Beautiful.
Are you dancing to White Nights right now? Are you just watching White Nights and dancing along to it?
Just on a loop.
I call it an online class.
It's just a worn out VHS copy.
I'm just like mumbling about beating Russia and like sweating.
And like every now and then you're breaking out in some tap dancing.
Right. And then downstairs neighbors hate it.
Oh,
how are you guys?
We're good, right, guys? We still got a podcast and it's fun.
It is. Jen, I've been enjoying your anger on the internet. I got to say, your rants about masks are really, they're great.
Well, you and Grace sent me a picture of yourselves wearing masks, as a lot of friends of mine have been doing. And I think my friends are afraid of me. Like, I'll just get texts from people who are like, I'm wearing a mask. I'm like, it's okay. But today I took a walk and I saw lots of people without them. And I didn't react at all. So I was proud of myself.
That's a big step. I
took a CBD THC gummy before I took a walk, so I think that helps. Yeah,
there you go. There's this house around the corner from me that's just like between 5 and 7 p.m. Just like 4 super hot people, like 2 guys and 2 girls, are always just hanging out. The guys always have their shirts off. The girls are like in cutoffs and like. Really, first of all, you can tell it's been a long time since I've had the human touch, but but they're never wearing masks and they're always playing like volleyball or gardening and drinking, and
having a great time, huh?
They're having
they're just rubbing it in. That's just taking it too far.
I know.
Are they quarantining together? Is that why they can do all this?
They must be, but they're like standing 2 feet from the sidewalk where everybody's walking their dogs. It's not like they're up a lawn, you know what I mean? So you have to like cross to the other side of the road. But it's kind of a weird feeling because I'm at the same time like scared and titillated, you know, like
that's part of the titillation. Now, I don't know if you've read the latest science. The hot people can't catch corona or pass it on. So
they have all that ultraviolet heat inside of them.
Yes.
Just cooking
so
the virus.
They're fine. They're fine. Don't be afraid of them.
That's
Good call.
amazing.
Good call.
Don't fear the pretties.
All right, guys. Well, we have some awesome listener files to get to today on today's episode. Of course, we love having Jen here, and you guys sent in some awesome stories. But before we get to that, Bryce and I both have a little bit of
BCC news.
I have an idea. I'm going to count to 3, all right? And we'll edit all this.
What do they have?
There's a sound cue that usually happens, and then they say something at the same time.
We usually have to make eye contact.
We've yet to do it correctly.
I'm trying to communicate with him telepathically, and it never works.
All right, let's do it.
Here we go.
Right.
1, 2, 3.
BCC
BCC
news.
News. This
Close
fucking
enough.
delay is going to kill
You
me.
came in on 4, man. Oh, well,
4.
whatever. Yeah, I came right after 3. Am I really delayed? Can you hear what I mean? I guess audio hearing is not the same as a delay, but oh well.
All right, here we go. Bryce, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So just when you discounted that sea monster out of Scotland, why are you laughing?
I just like the way you said it. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you.
Okay.
You are
All right,
Bryce.
nice.
We're at the point where our relationship is multi-level. That there are nuances and flavors of your personality that I find amusing that most people aren't noticing.
Okay, cool.
It's
cool.
true.
Right
It's
on,
a deep
right on.
level.
Well, Mysterious Universe reports that video surfaces of allegedly the biggest ever Loch Ness monster sighting. Now, this was reported on by Jocelyn LeBlanc, and I'll read from Mysterious Universe. Great website, great podcast. Love these guys. Loch Ness monster hunter and enthusiast. Now, good luck saying this name. Eoin O'Fatahagen. That must be Scottish. How would you say that first name? E-O-I-N. Eowyn. Oh, Yowen. Yowen O'Fatahagen has that'll work.
Just call him Uyo Fatty.
Ewan O'Fatahagen.
Perfect.
That's like a bounty hunter out of Star Wars. Has certainly been busy this year. He recorded the first 2 confirmed sightings of the creature so far in 2020 and is now claimed to have captured the biggest Loch Ness monster sighting ever recorded, which has now been recognized by the official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register. O'Fatahagen's most recent sighting happened on April 22nd when he noticed something strange in Urquhart Bay. During the course of around 2 minutes, the long black shape was floating on top of the water before slowly submerging back under. The object came up out of the water and stayed motionless, and after a few seconds of splashing motions, it can be seen on the video. O'Fatahagen explained, then it submerged slowly into the loch, disappearing from sight. As for the measurements of the creature, he said, the object, in my estimation, is at least 30 feet long, as shown by solid blackness in the water, rising to at least 4 to 5 feet high. He went on to state that there were no boats in the water that could have caused a disturbance, as the bay, it was completely calm at that time. And he also captured 2 other videos in 2020. So this guy's been pretty busy and pretty prophetic catching this Loch Ness. But that's incredible. I saw the video. It's intriguing. It's blurry like all good crypto videos. Hard to make out much, but there's definitely something in the water that splashes around and goes back under. So I don't know. I'm intrigued. It's
Jen,
nice
did
to
you
see
take a
Loch
look at
Ness
this
back in the
video?
news.
I did see it, and it doesn't even to me look so much like a creature splashing as it looked like.
A big.
I mean, there's definitely
floating in the
something there,
bathtub.
but almost like if they had a submarine that was constantly monitoring, that body of water. That's what it looked like, and then it looked like it submerged. So there's something there, and that's what got me wondering: do they have some kind of thing that's constantly monitoring, or it looked like a giant log as well?
Yeah. I think it's because like when when you see a whale breach sometimes you just see that long ridged back of the whale, unless it flips its tail up or blows something out of its blowhole. So I think it's just like a long length of something that's coming up and then going back down. I think, what we really need is to see that neck and head come out of the water and look around like a dinosaur and then go back under. But of course, we haven't gotten that at all.
Well, apparently a lot of people have been seeing it. I mean, to add to his impressive record of Loch Ness footage, he was responsible for 4 of the 18 sightings last year. In fact, Michael, it was a record-breaking year, as the 18 total sightings of 2019 were the most reported since 1983. So that's pretty crazy to think that it's definitely back in the news. I was starting to discount old Nessie there for a little bit.
Well, that eDNA test they did said it was just probably a giant eel.
Yeah, well, that's if you're thinking flesh and blood. I mean, this goes back to I've always felt that Loch Ness Monster was something more paranormal, like, and I do believe that Aleister Crowley, in his ritual magic, sort of summoned up that beast, and that's when they started reporting it. So I think it's definitely lives in the world of the paranormal.
Ooh, that's a fun thought. I didn't really know about that. I do think there's something in there. I'm not even saying it's paranormal if it isn't that. But has anyone ever just sent some kind of thing down there to?
Oh,
they
yeah.
must have, right?
Yeah, there's guys that have spent millions of dollars searching that loch, and they've used all kinds of high tech equipment. In fact, I think it was even like National Geographic or Discovery did a whole episode where they followed a crew and they sent submersible sonars down there and ran all kinds of tests, but. The latest in technology for testing wise is that eDNA kit, which is the environmental DNA. And all you have to do is take a sample of the loch, and that will tell you every living biological creature in that entire loch with just one sample size. So,
because the idea is, Jen, that any fish or otter or animals that go in there, they'll shed cells and shed DNA. So you can actually, it's called environmental DNA testing.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, and then they can go through and they can be like, oh, look. And they found like bits of like sheep and lamb that have fallen and drowned in the lake. And, they can pick up all these different animals. And they got a lot of like eel hits. And so the big theory now is that there are giant eels in the lake that are probably causing the Loch Ness monster sightings. The problem is with going down in submarines and underwater vessels is that the loch is notoriously dark because there's all this peat on the bottom of it. And
got it.
So it's really hard to see once you get down there, and it's really deep and it's really long. So it's hard to find anything down there.
Well, even if it is not a dinosaur or a paranormal creature, just that environmental DNA test is a miracle in my eyes.
Yeah,
that's crazy that we live in a time like that.
No, it's great. Yeah.
I'm intrigued that it is a paranormal creature. I think that's way more fun.
Well, to give you a little primer, so at the beginning of the 19th century or 20th century, actually, Aleister Crowley bought a little house right there off the loch because he was fascinated with that area, and he started one of his most aggressive magic rituals, which was supposed to take place. It was a series of rituals over 6 months. It was called to summon his holy guardian angel. And apparently, like, his magic ritual was stopped in the middle of it, and he left, and he never closed the gate, as it were. And that's when these sightings started popping up in and around the loch.
So he didn't pick that location because of the Loch Ness Monster.
No.
He was just up in Inverness and built the house up there.
That is strange then. That I don't like. That freaks me out.
And who was the guitarist that bought his place after he left? And
Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page. Yeah, that's right.
Jimmy Page was real into the occult as well.
Yeah, because of Aleister Crowley. He bought his house because he was super into it.
Right. I guess that would make sense.
And he reported all kinds of sort of paranormal activity happening in and around the place as well. So I don't know. Crazy shit.
Well,
did he report a lot of their music being stolen from black unnamed blues musicians? Did they find? Now, no one's a bigger Zepp fan than me, but I just have to,
Yeah,
make
and
that joke.
all of their magic rituals were stolen by a old, bald English sex addict. Okay, so Bryce, I've got my story here. I'm surprised when you texted us tonight that you have a story. Listen, that was great. I love Loch Ness. I'm Scottish. Give it to me all day long. I was shocked that you weren't bringing in the biggest UFO news that's hit in a long time. Dropped today. This is from
I was
CNN.
aware of it. Go for it. Yeah.
I assumed you were. This is today on CNN. Pentagon officially releases UFO videos. This is by Michael. This pop-up window keeps getting in the way. Michael Conti from CNN. So here we go. The Pentagon has officially released 3 short videos showing unidentified aerial phenomena that had been previously released by a private company. The video shows what appear to be unidentified flying objects rapidly moving while recorded by infrared cameras. 2 of the videos contain service members reacting in awe at how quickly the objects are moving. One voice speculates that it could be a drone. The Navy previously acknowledged the veracity of the videos in September of last year. They are officially releasing them now in order to clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage has been circulating was real or whether or not there is more to the videos, according to Pentagon spokesperson Sue Gao. After a thorough review, the department has determined that the authorized release of these unclassified videos does not reveal any sensitive capabilities or systems, said Gao in a statement, and does not impinge on any subsequent investigations of military airspace incursions by unidentified aerial phenomena. The Navy has now formal guidelines for how its pilots can report when they believe they have seen possible UFOs. The Navy videos were first released between December 2017 and March 2018 by To the Stars Academy, pop-up fucking video, and Arts and Sciences, a company co-founded by former Blink-182 musician Tom DeLonge, that says it studies information about unidentified aerial phenomenon. In 2017, one of the pilots who saw one of the unidentified objects in 2004 told CNN that it moved in ways he couldn't explain. As I got close to it, it rapidly accelerated to the south, then it disappeared in less than 2 seconds, said retired U.S. Navy pilot David Fravor. This was extremely abrupt, like a ping pong ball bouncing off a wall. It would hit and go the other way. So basically, this whole story is just the Pentagon confirming that the videos that we got in December 2017 are, in fact, official videos, that they know about it, and that they've decided that none of this is, it doesn't affect national security in any major way. However, and I'm going back to the article here, some members of Congress are still interested in the issue, with senators receiving a classified briefing from Navy officials on unidentified aircraft last summer. If pilots at Oceana or elsewhere are reporting flight hazards that interfere with training or put them at risk, then Senator Warner wants answers. It doesn't matter if it's weather balloons, little green men, or something else entirely. We can't ask our pilots to put their lives at risk unnecessarily. Rachel Cohen, spokesperson for Democratic Virginia Senator Mark Warner, told CNN at the time. So there you go.
Well, there you go. That felt like an old hash story to me, because we were so on top of when those videos were first released. But so it's really just the Pentagon saying we're officially releasing these.
But
videos.
That's huge, because there was a period in this when, yes, I know what you mean, because it does feel like we keep getting these same videos and stories over and over again. But it's the way that it's trickling out, right? It's taken 2 years for the Pentagon to go, yeah, okay, those are real. Those videos are real, because there was even a time when people were contending that Luis Elizondo didn't even work at the Pentagon, within the UFO community. So now, first we had these videos come out, former Pentagon officials, Luis Elizondo, saying that it was a thing, talking to the New York Times, then the Navy, the Air Force, and now finally the Pentagon is going, yeah, okay, that's real. And that's huge.
That's the first time they've ever. I remember these stories. You probably had already read them as well by the time I was like texting you, like, did you see this? But I've read every one of these. I remember it was happening, and I remember there was still kind of radio silence from the Pentagon, and it was going, and nobody was talking about it because, of who's the president. There's always some new drama every day. And I would always tweet, this would be a big deal if we weren't living in hell. And now this is it. I mean, it's still an unidentified flying object. They don't say it's a space alien, but they never have said that before about anything.
Nope.
It's
and
always
even
been, it's a weather balloon. It's a, you know.
And at least they're going, we don't know what this is.
I find that they're really just sort of covering their ass because, look, this is a threat to our airspace because, you know, there are some of the most famous UFO cases have been documented over nuclear bases where, you know, actual missile silos have been turned on and shut down. There was a big case in Russia that almost started World War III when there was a UFO over one of their nuclear missile silos that turned on their nuclear missiles. And it was they actually were just able to shut them down before we became aware of them. It almost started World War III. So these are a threat.
And look, if Tom DeLonge had a video of that, maybe they'd be admitting that. But they're speaking specifically about these videos released, right? And that's the point that, you know, the spokesperson for Senator Warner's making at the end is like, hey, at the end of the day, we still got to know what this stuff is, you know?
Good luck.
And also to Jen's point, look, we're in the middle of this fucking pandemic and this story is just slightly slipped out there. You know what I mean?
The timing is amazing. It's not a coincidence.
It's on a Monday, which is not a big news day. You know, there's been lots of big national news over the weekend. We're all in the middle of this pandemic. And then here we go. The Pentagon going, okay, let's just confirm this and move on. So it's fascinating stuff. It's a big deal. Big deal. Big deal.
My disclosure boner is half mass.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, it's time for your listener stories. The L-Files with Jen Kirkman. Hey guys, we're back for the third time.
Fourth.
So we're stuck in a time loop right now. This isn't going to make a lot of sense to you guys, but it's the next day from when we started this episode because we keep having some Mothman level fuckery with the recording stuff. So this middle section that you're going to hear, these next 4 letters, this is our third attempt at reading them. So bear with us. We might be a little angry while giving out advice. Here we go. Just kidding. All right. I'm going to kick off the L-Files with a letter whose title I don't want to spoil for the listeners, even though my buddies here know what this is all about. Here we go. Dear BCC, I've been sitting on this story for a while now. For one thing, it's very weird. And for another, I truly don't want to be disrespectful. But it happened. Like many people, I was truly devastated by Anthony Bourdain's untimely death. I always felt a great comfort watching him and felt a spiritual connection to his whole being. At the same time, I'm not a super fan. I just appreciated him as a fellow human. Writer Inner, I think if you connect with him on a spiritual level, you are, indeed, a super fan. And that's okay. Embrace it. Shortly after his death, it was a night just like any other night. I was alone, very high, and thinking of Anthony. I had just heard the story about a woman who had married a ghost, and they had also had sex. I was sorry to hear about their later divorce. So I started to really think on that very idea with this lovely man who was taken from this world too soon, but also not really taking it too seriously. I didn't realize I was putting any true intention out into the universe. Later that night, I woke up from a deep sleep suddenly. I was not experiencing sleep paralysis. In fact, I wasn't even paralyzed. I rolled over from my side because it felt like someone was there. I felt 2 presences at the foot of my bed. One slightly closer to me, and the other was bigger and behind the first. I felt them as if they were 2 solid people there. This sounds crazy, but the closer presence felt like Anthony Bourdain. The second presence felt like a serious, authoritative, anonymous being. Now that I'm awake and this is happening, I immediately decide sex with the spirit is too much. And I didn't mean for any of this to actually happen. I closed myself off, and the presences were gone. It took me a while to go back to sleep because that experience was too fucking weird. I would be lying if I said I wasn't flattered that Anthony had answered my call. Now maybe some of us are connected and we can feel each other if we really try. I chalked this experience up to it being just my imagination. How could I not? It's so strange. My experience then became way more significant after I heard y'all's episode with Adela Levine, where she talked about the Watchers, I think, the stoic beings that look after the spiritual plane and help spirits that are new to that plane. That's exactly what the second presence felt like. Why else would there be a second presence? It didn't feel like a pervy second presence. It just felt like an authority there for Anthony's spirit. Not malicious or good, and not there for me. I am so embarrassed by my booty call that I booty call the celebrity spirit, and I've never told anyone about this one until now. The two signs that I got that led me to writing y'all is at first listening to the Listener Files episode. I wasn't sure if you were still doing these, and then I listened to A Funny Feeling today, and Marcy and Betsy mentioned consensual ghost sex. Shout out, A Funny Feeling! I've had other ghost experiences when I was younger, but I intentionally closed myself off after my grandma died when I was 17. I didn't want her to worry about us and stay in this plane of existence. I didn't want to have any spirituality or connection to the paranormal in between until now that I'm in my 30s. With the exception of this event, I closed myself off because I don't need any more stress in my life. Also, this is a burner email. I can't let y'all know my true identity. Thanks for being awesome. I love all three of you. Kisses, Taylor.
Mwah.
Sounds like Taylor is a Patreon subscriber.
Sure does.
With that sign off of kisses. All right. Well, we've heard this story a couple times now. Jen,
Times, yeah.
what is your take?
Well, now my take is that I have the song "Just My Imagination Running Away from Me." Just my imagination. So there's that. My other new take, having heard this again, is I'm glad that Anthony Bourdain is a respectful ghost. That in this Me Too era, she changed her mind, and he wasn't like, "Oh, come on, whatever. You said I could come over for sex." He was like, "You know what?
Materialized for this?
Hey, my friend's gonna watch. That's cool, right?
So
Why does Anthony Bourdain sound like that?
Things happen in the afterlife. You get a whole new identity.
Very
But
mysterious.
you know, I'll retell the story I just told on the other recording that I had an intense dream about Prince. And so while I find it so hard just for myself to believe that these people are actually coming to us in our sleep, although I really wish it were true, maybe it is, I do think if we feel connected to someone and maybe we're really good at reading their energy, somehow we are connected in some cellular way. I don't know. But I just know that I wasn't a super fan of Prince the same way you were with Anthony Bourdain. Always just appreciated him. Saw him in concert once. So I have breathed the same air. It was an electrifying concert. When he died, I had a bizarre dream that I was at the UCB Theater in LA backstage, and that I was going to see a podcast being recorded, but I was just a fan of these podcast guys, and I was backstage. And then Prince walked in, and all the guys were treating him like a god. And I connected with Prince in this dream on what I knew was this really cool sense of humor he has. And then he just kept teasing me. We kept joking with each other. And then Prince sat with me while we were watching the podcast taping. And then the guys said, "Does anyone have a question?" And Prince raised his hand and went, "Why isn't Jen Kirkman on your podcast?" or something like that. And he said to me, "Jen Kirkman, you should start a podcast." And so he was just really, I don't know. He
This
was really
dream
into
gets
me.
better and better with each telling.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it was something about him and podcasts. That's all I remember. And then he invited me to his home in Minnesota. And in the
Dearly
dream,
beloved, we are gathered here today to listen to Jen Kirkman's podcast.
I woke up in bed the next morning, hadn't opened my eyes yet, and I swear to God, I was in bed with him in Minneapolis. And then I woke up, and I was just in my own bedroom alone.
I love
Prince
that
was
you go
dead.
from UCB to Paisley Park. Like, this dream's got a lot of
Happens
locations.
Private jet. Oh, that's right. Yeah. It was a 3-location dream. And then I woke up, but the heartbreak I felt, it wasn't just a disappointment that, it was just a dream. It was intense pain, as though I had actually suffered a breakup. And I just thought, if I got that emotional in a dream, could there be something real? Could our souls have connected?
I mean,
Yes.
you guys know I already think that if anyone has the ability to zip around and seduce women in their dreams after he dies, it's Prince.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I got a new title track off my BJ and the Shadowbats album, A Pervy Second Presence. So I'm good with that.
I hope someone's keeping track of all the song tracks that we have to write for this album.
I actually literally just created a notes file. So from now, I'm literally going to start working on the album.
From here on out.
Yeah, from here on out.
So I had a few takeaways from this. The first is the Watcher. This would be the first. Okay. I'm not sure if that second presence was a Watcher, because I think what Adela Levine says is those guys kind of hang out on the edge of reality. But who knows? It's possible. I don't run the afterlife. I don't know all the rules, but I definitely think there's something that I feel like you trust your gut when you're having these things. And it is interesting that there was this second presence that was kind of like there as a Watcher. So I find that interesting. I don't know. Adela would probably know more about that than I would. I think the big takeaways here are maybe it was Anthony Bourdain, maybe it wasn't. I think that whatever this phenomenon has the ability to, like we were discussing before, and Bryce, you can help me out here if you want to, but that there's something. There's something about this entity, about this phenomenon that picks up on your thoughts, picks up on the things that you're projecting, and engages with you in a way that you want to be engaged with or think you are being engaged with. There's a trickster element to this as well. So it's possible that whatever this entity was like, hey, she's digging Anthony Bourdain. Let's show up as Anthony Bourdain. Mm-hmm. So there's that possibility as well. And maybe it was Anthony Bourdain. How the fuck do we really know? So again, trust your instincts, trust your gut, but also know that whatever this thing is, and this comes up a lot in the Mothman Prophecies book, it tends to fuck with us and mislead us in ways that we think we know what's going on when really that's not the case at all. My last bit of advice for you is, Taylor, is that it sounds like you're tapped in, and you have the ability to shut it down when you want to. So you don't have to go all the way, so to speak, with these spirits. But maybe the good thing is that you could maybe try to make more connections to the other side here, knowing that you have the ability to turn it off when you want to. So maybe it's worth exploring this other side and the spiritual connection that you have and see where it goes.
So considering things may or may not be what they seem they are, temperature of the room, ghost sex, good idea, bad idea?
It might be our only option for some of us in this pandemic.
That's a good point.
I'll take ghost sex over no sex any day.
Thank you.
That's definitely a BJ and the Shadowbats lyric right there.
Yeah, that's in a song.
That's in a song for sure.
Typing that out.
Any action I can get, as long as it's consensual, is cool with me.
All right, ghost sex is on the table.
Yeah, on the table. Okay, what's the title of this one, Bryce?
This one has no title.
It's called Second Story Submission, sorta.
Okay. Hey guys, I hope everything is.
I don't
going
think
well.
you printed it out. It's included in the email.
It's right here. I don't print out subject headlines.
Well,
so let's not fight.
Okay, this one's called
Mom,
Second Story
Dad,
Submission.
Don't fight.
All right, here we go.
Well, if we do, we might kill each other, and then Jen can raise you in the Holy Catholic Spirit.
Yeah, that would work out.
Looking forward to new BCC episodes. They help me get through the first and worst half of the work week. Since the last time I wrote in, you've had one of my heroes on the show, Greg Sipes. I still don't know how I feel about hearing the voice of Beast Boy and that adorable face say orgasm. Thank you for that, LOL. The reason why I say in the title I have a sort of story is because I have no memory of it. Allow me to explain. At the age of about 5 or 6, I woke up on a Saturday. I remember it was a Saturday because we didn't have school or church that morning, so I was allowed to sleep in. I didn't remember anything that happened prior to when I woke up that morning. I knew who I was, who my friends and family members were, etc. The best way I can describe it is, I woke up with my stored knowledge, but not my memories. I didn't say anything to my mom or my siblings, and only told my best friend much later. Now, as an adult, I look back and believe I was abducted by aliens. My stepdad, who works for Lockheed Martin, if that says anything, is a huge believer in aliens. For his birthday a few years back, my mom got him a session with a therapist that was into hypnosis. She offered him sessions of hypnosis from memory. He wanted to use half his session to remember his previous life, and the other half to remember an alien abduction he believed he went through. I love that he's like, yeah, can I split this up? I just want to get the most for my money here. Okay. He used the time reserved to go into deep detail about the alien abduction. He thought he was only talking about it for half an hour or so. When he got out of the trance, he realized he took up the entire 2-hour session. Yeah, that's what I was saying with my joke. You're not gonna be able to half these up. I myself have thought about doing this, but I have to admit I'm nervous. I've been diagnosed with BPD, borderline personality disorder. It's not as scary as it sounds, trust me. The biggest identifier is that I feel emotions deeper and longer than normal people. Think Tinkerbell and other fairies from Peter Pan, how they feel emotions. BPD is usually either genetic, no one else in my family has it, or from a traumatic experience in childhood. Fortunately, I had a great childhood. Nothing traumatic happened to me, unless something did and my mind suppressed it. I've thought about going to that therapist, but I always wonder, what if I remember something I don't want to? What if the ordeal was so traumatizing, my mind overcompensated and didn't just suppress my memories from that night, but my entire life before that night as well? I don't want to end up like a patient in The Fourth Kind. So for now, ignorance is bliss. If you have made it this far, thank you for reading my rant. Can't wait to listen to future episodes. If you don't mind, I'd rather not regress, at least on this subject. Thank you, Jessica. Wow, okay, that's a lot to unpack there.
I definitely have thoughts, but I want to kick it over to you guys first. Jen, what do you think?
Yes, so a few thoughts. I think that she should definitely explore what she is afraid to explore in therapy. And the reason I'm saying that is because I've been in therapy forever. I'm a highly sensitive person, not always a good thing. And I have definitely thought, oh my God, I bet these feelings are from some dark and scary, horrible thing. And they weren't. And also, if you're going to go through any kind of, looking at your past, it's usually done with a skilled therapist, and it won't throw you for a loop where suddenly you're off by yourself with thoughts that are swirling around and making you feel terrible. And eventually, if there is deep trauma in our lives, it will come up in other ways. So I think it's always best to sort of face it, almost like an exorcism. But I don't think there's anything to worry about. And then on the spiritual realm, in terms of alien abduction, I know this wasn't a question, but I feel like I would not want to know if I had been abducted by an alien. I think it would just freak me out, and I'd be constantly waiting for them to come back and wondering if they were going to torture me. Because I don't have positive feelings about alien abduction like other people do.
Yeah, no, for sure not.
No? Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was being negative, but I don't think it's like a great thing that I want to happen.
It's not on my bucket list.
Okay, good.
So you're not imagining it like in Flight of the Navigator, where he just gets to run around in a cool spaceship around the Earth and
with Pee Wee Herman.
With Pee Wee Herman. Yeah,
I would be fine with that, but I don't think that's what it is.
Well, as I was saying from the last time we did this, look, if your dad thought that he should take the time to get regressed and talk to somebody about alien abduction, then obviously there's something there. And if you feel that you might have had an alien abduction, perhaps that there's something there. And as we discussed last time, there is the thing that takes place in the literature of this running through families of, different family lines, having experiences with the abduction phenomena. So it's not out of the realms that perhaps both of you have a story to tell or to uncover. Now, whether you want to uncover it or not, that's totally up to you. I mean, I guess it all depends on your perception and how you perceive this phenomenon, whether it's a threat or whether it's benevolent, because I think that makes a big part of it, right? If you're not scared by it, then yeah, investigate it. But if you're terrified about it, then don't. So it's really all where you're coming from.
I mean, this really is at the heart of the issue about regression and hypnotherapy and all this stuff. Dr. Benjamin Simon, who was the hypnotherapist that helped Betty and Barney Hill unpack their abduction experience back in the 60s, if you remember from episode 100 with Mr. Paul Scheer, oftentimes these sessions go on for months because a good therapist is going to help walk you through this trauma and then mentally prepare you for the potential hypnoregression that's going to help you unblock some of these memory blocks, so to speak. And, and he said the reason why he was very careful with Betty and Barney Hill is because the body and the brain puts those memory blocks into place to help protect you from that trauma. So I couldn't agree with Jen more on this. I'm somebody who's been through a lot of therapy, and my big takeaway from therapy has been, a lot of times the thing that I think is something really scary, like an alien abduction, turns out to be, I don't want to say nothing, but has a much more rational explanation that is often not traumatic. It's possible that you're just picking up on this story from your stepdad and going, maybe that happened to me too. We don't know, but I agree with Jen, especially because you've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. That unpack all this stuff with your therapist if you have one, if you can go to one, and then see where it leads, and see if your therapist will help you. This is going to sound crazy, but your therapist will help you make the decision of whether or not you want to discover you've been abducted by aliens. So talk it out. And, the more we do this show, the more I'm like, maybe saying go get the regress at the end of every episode's not a good idea. But,
yeah. Well, if you're in a place where you can handle it, go get regress.
Yeah.
Responsibly regress.
Or we have the alternative, which I said last time. Check your body for scoop marks.
Right. There was no last time for our listeners. It's just for us.
Hey, man.
We're experiencing our own version of missing time here. They don't know what the last time is. They don't know that we've been Groundhog Daying this episode.
This is the 5th time I've read this letter.
All right, here we go. Riley, you have one called Depressing Ghost Story and Funny Alien Story?
I do. Dear Bigfoot boys and guest, that's Jen. One night I had a dream about my dead grandmother, whom I wasn't particularly close with. There was a menacing black shadow following us around, and just as we did normal stuff, like grocery shopping and driving in the car. Right before the dream ended, she turned to me and said, "No matter where you go, the darkness will always find you."
Thanks, Grandma.
You just have to learn to deal with it. Grandma's a matter of fact. As soon as I woke up, I called my mom to tell her about the strange dream I had about her mother. She sounded more upset than I expected, and also surprisingly awake for 7 a.m. on a weekend. I asked her if something was wrong. She then told me that one member of my stepfamily had murdered several other members of my stepfamily, and the police had then killed the murderer. She...
Sorry, I'm laughing. This is just it's intense. It's nervous laughter. It's
fucked up.
So, I need hypno-regression to get through this fucking letter. This is dark as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Settle. She had just found out before I called. I told her my dream before she told me any of this. There's not much more to the story. We just had to learn to deal with it, just like Grandma said. I've only dreamed of my grandmother one more time since then. Nothing bad happened, although it really scared me. My mom thankfully has a good sense of humor about me referring to her mother as my personal harbinger of doom. To end on a lighter note, I went to Roswell with my best friend over a decade ago, and we drove out to the desert to look for aliens. Well, we smoked way too much weed and became pretty certain that an alien was hiding behind a random bush in the desert. Why would an alien hide behind a bush to spy on us? No idea.
because that's
But
what
she's
they
still
do.
scared of aliens. She's still scared of aliens to this day. Thanks, guys. Love the podcast and recently subscribed to the Patreon and bought a shirt on TeePublic. Highly recommend it both to your listeners. Give Nova some pets from me. I love seeing his cute face pop up on the Insta.
Name withheld. Oh my God. I love that the two stories in this letter are someone in my family killed a bunch of people and then the cops killed him. And then one time I went to the desert with my friend and got high and we thought there was an alien behind a bush. That's like,
Yeah.
It's all
Really covering the two poles of the spectrum. Not a lot of in between.
I'm so sorry, listener, about the true trauma that we all know happened in your family.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Jen, what do you think? I mean, this to me is just proofs in the pudding. Grandma broke through, was like, hey, some bad news is coming your way tomorrow. Just a heads up.
Yeah, this is a very, to me, believable, cut and dry. I totally get it. My mind can wrap around a loved one coming to us in our dreams to say something. And I've had it happen to me, and it's usually true. I do think people we've interacted with a lot, whether or not, if there's a skeptic out there who goes, no, they can't come to you in your dream. Fine. Our energies are so connected in our minds, blah, blah, that absolutely was real. And then I like how, I have a feeling that almost like the spirit world is almost like early dial-up. Like there's not a lot of time. You know what I mean? It takes a long time to connect. And so you just got to be brief and get it out. And so I love this is just appeals to my dark sense of humor, the brevity with which grandma speaks. And she's just like, look, there was a murder. Life's dark. Peace, because it doesn't seem that there's a lot of time for long conversations between the afterlife and this life. And so that kind of stuff will always make me laugh. So I know I laughed at the wrong story. I'm supposed to laugh at the alien in the bush, but that doesn't make me laugh as much as the grandmother's dark prophecy.
Well, she said her mom said her grandma was like that. So you're totally you're totally nailing it.
Yeah, and it seems like the writer has a very she's well processed this situation. She has a sense of humor about life and about death, and I think she understands the nervous giggling. It's just like such a fucking crazy thing to write in a letter.
Do you know if this were me, if I were the letter writer, what I would like about the story is that it's step family. Like, I'm not blood related to these murdering monsters. It's not in my DNA to potentially snap and murder everybody. So there's some comfort in that too.
Yeah.
Or not.
Bryson, your thoughts?
No, I was going to say we've all got that family member who's killed someone, but that's just not the case.
Okay, let's move on. Jen, you have a story you're going to read for us called, do you want to tell us what the title of it is, Jen?
Yes. And are we taking a break before the story or no?
I have a good feeling about this one. Everything's running really smoothly.
Okay,
I think
let's not fuck it up.
Yeah, because it seems like it gets fucked up every time we reload it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just go for it.
Sorry to put that thing in there. Okay, so this story, by the way, I read this last night when we recorded originally, and I was terrified in my home. I had to start burning sage, and now I have to read it again, but at least it's light out. But I don't like this. The title is called My Scariest Story So Far. Hey, gang and guest. That's me. My name is Ashley from Maryland, and I have a creepy one for you guys. My story took place in 2015, but I remember it like it was yesterday. A group of friends and I went about an hour or two away to visit another friend of ours one day to a town outside of Waldorf, Maryland. The friend we were visiting is an empath and no stranger to high strangeness himself, and he knows that I consider myself a seer. He asked me to go check out this spot with him that his buddy had sworn he felt something at, but when said buddy took him to show him, the empath felt nothing. He asked me if I wanted to check it out, to which I replied, sure. I trust this guy with my life. He'd never put me anywhere dangerous, and if there was something there, he'd feel it too, right? Wrong! He was driving in an area that I didn't know, and I was looking out the window. I saw a split rail fence emerge out of the ground, and immediately I started feeling uneasy. I said, are we almost there? And almost immediately he pulls in and says, yeah, actually we're here. I looked back out the window, or at least I tried. Instead of the water tower, which is the thing I was supposed to see, something took over my vision. I saw the profile of a rotting man who turned his head to look at me without eyes in his eye sockets.
Not cool, rotting man.
I told him, I'm assuming she meant her friend, we have to go now. And he pulled out immediately. We drove down the street to say goodbye to our other friend, and all I could hear in my mind, like an alarm blaring, was, he still knows I'm here. I didn't feel safe until we were an hour away across a river. Oh, and by the way, after I did some research when I got home, St. Brian's Run, the actual town we were in, was built on old Native American territory. They even have a burial ground in one of their parks. So, fuck that. That's how she ends the letter. And I don't have a name here. Oh,
and
actually,
then XO.
XO. Fuck that. Hugs and kisses.
Dude, I love it. I love that her reaction to when she saw a split rail fence emerging out of the ground, she was like, oh, I feel uneasy. I mean, I believe she's saying she saw a fence rise out of the ground, like animated style. I don't know. What do you guys think here? I wasn't
sure about that. Yeah. I need to take a minute and stop being scared. So please, someone else.
The fence part, I was like, is she's seeing it because the car's moving and she sees it kind of like emerge?
Yeah, and was it like, ooh, I'm getting a creepy feeling, or was she literally seeing a fence rise out of the ground?
Like
Ashley, we need some clarification on that.
I mean, the rotting man, though, that's some scary shit right there.
Yeah,
no way around it.
My thought on this one was that she's seeing not actual reality, but she's seeing an overlay. You know, something that's overlaying over her vision.
Right.
This seems like one of those things where she was the only person who could see that dude, you know?
Well,
so this is more of a vision.
Seer, so.
Yeah, I think this is more definitely her experiencing a vision of an energy or a presence that's there, and she's the only one tapping into that field. Creepy as fuck.
Yeah, I remember this now from last night that was your opinion, and it scares me less than to think that there's a ghost rotting person, but more that, and anytime there's something that's over some kind of burial ground, or anytime any kind of like mass genocide trauma has taken place and you go to those areas, you can really feel it. You don't even have to see visions. It's scary enough to feel it. And so I don't like it. This story, I don't like it. I mean, I don't like it in a good way. Like it scares me because I tend to believe these kind of things.
It's a very Stephen King. This one's a very Stephen King story for me. Like, it just seems like a scene right out of like It or, something.
I'm wondering why her friend, who is an empath, which I do think is different than being kind of a paranormal seer, didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's anything there.
I think we talked about this yesterday, but highly charged emotion seems to be like a battery for paranormal experience.
Yeah. I think that was a good point, and I'm glad you brought that back up because that really seems to be. It seems to be like the driving force. It's very tied into your emotional experience, which I think is really interesting.
Cool.
Yes. Oh, that's right. I remember that from last night, and in no way are any of us saying, you're also emotional. It's in your head. It's truly the opposite. I think our emotions enhance our paranormal experiences.
Yeah.
What's the emotion, Bryce, that she's tapping into? Just the uneasiness of the area, or what do you mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, if you look in the movie Poltergeist, I mean, they based that whole thing off of an Indian burial ground. So yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot of trauma that takes place in certain areas and whatnot. We don't know what that trauma is, and who knows. But trauma, fear, those seems to be the highly charged emotions that this thing, whatever it is, can really run off of. But I mean, I'm sure it can also tap into different energy states like love and extreme compassion too. But if, for some reason, paranormal happenings seem to really thrive off those stuff like trauma, fear, danger, stuff like that.
I mean, it makes sense because like emotions are really sort of the most abstract part of our consciousness. So why wouldn't they be, a driver of our connection to the abstract world?
Yeah. Yeah, you're just picking up on an energy,
Yeah.
A poignant point to leave on as we take a break. We'll be right back after this with more listener stories and back to our original recording. See you soon. All right, Club Scouts, I hope you're nestled in tight around that fire because we got some more spooky stories for y'all. This one's called UFO. What's up, dudes? My name's Angel from San Diego.
Nice.
Recently found your podcast because I ran out of Bigfoot podcasts. I don't know if you guys have listened to the Sasquatch Chronicles, but fuck, they got some good testimonies, which if I was ever a believer before now, those testimonies confirmed it for me. There's just too much consistency. Well, now, by the way, addicted to your podcast and binging it and thought I'd share a UFO incident that happened to me like 2 years ago. Angel, awesome. By the way, sidebar, I have listened to Sasquatch Chronicles. It's great. Often we've used some of their stuff for research for some of our stories of high strangeness.
Amen.
And thank you for finding us. Here we go. So I got home one night around 9 p.m. and I was listening to music. I always take a minute before leaving my car. Well, I was facing north inside my parked car and didn't pay attention to some lights since airplanes are arriving non-stop. I just thought it was an airplane, but something made me take a double take because a light was at the corner of my eye since I was on my phone. I look up and there's a pretty bright light somewhere lower than the normal altitude of airplanes. It's a height I've kind of memorized since I've lived here all my life and seen them cruise by every day. Well, this light is the only way I can describe it was kind of a red and yellow, similar to when you stare into a fire. And I've heard this description after the incident on one of those UFO History Channel shows. Some dude from Russia was describing something similar. Yeah. So I pull out my phone, I try to record it, but honestly, iPhones record shitty at night. First of all, Angel, I just love how just conversational you are about all this stuff. Shitty at night and into the night sky. But as I was looking at it, all I could think was, no one's gonna believe me. It hit me. I now felt like all of those people you hear talking about their encounters.
Bryce Johnson.
I didn't know what. Yep. I didn't know what I was looking at, but I was staring. All I could do was the process of elimination. It wasn't a plane since it just floated. It wasn't a helicopter either. I get to see those constantly, and drones were popular at the time, but this was way bigger. I just heard one of your episodes where someone was describing UFO moving in similar fashion to a keyboard mouse movement, and it hit me. That's exactly how this object started moving in the sky. I couldn't describe it before at all, but I could say that it moved so natural or at free will. This thing started losing altitude, coming lower. And I decided to follow it, or at least get closer to see if it was a craft to get a better look. So I was literally driving down the street super slow, staring at it, and had it locked in my eyesight. All I was waiting for was this light to just shoot out of the sky at a crazy speed and confirm it was a UFO. This fucking light just turned off right before my eyes. Just disappeared. It kind of left me confused. Went back home kind of nervous, wondering if it had noticed me paying attention to it. But either way, to this day, I know I saw something weird. And Tom DeLonge's Tic Tac video off the coast of San Diego just confirmed there's some weird shit going on. Keep the ball rolling. This podcast is gold. I'll check back as soon as I got some paranormal experiences to share too. Dude, Angel, thank you, man. And I absolutely timed with the Tom DeLonge story that was in the news today.
Yeah,
so I love this thing. This light, he's expecting it to behave one way, and then it just blinks out like, haha. You know what I mean? There's that like performance kind of thing that a lot of people see with these UFOs, that they sort of engage with you in ways that you don't expect them to.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, man, engage with you. And a lot of people think that, oh, they see a strange light in the sky, that's about it. But what you really should be looking for, if you have, and I mean, all those are the telltale markers of the classic unidentified flying object, that fireball, multicolored light, moving in multiple directions, turning off, turning back on. But what I was going to say is what you should be looking for are experiences that take place after the fact, sometimes a day, a week, even 2 weeks after the sighting. That's when people start reporting strange sort of paranormal happenings. I see it all the time. Somebody witnesses a crazy light in the sky, or somebody sees some being coming out of a craft, and the next thing you know, they're having all different kinds of shit go down. That's crazy, man.
Bryce, have you ever had anything like that connected to when you've seen these orbs? Have you had weird stuff happen?
Dude, it's hard.
That?
Yeah, man, it's hard to say no, because, I've had some crazy shit. I feel like I've had some crazy shit happen. And if I look at the timeline of it, it really was around that time that I was seeing those, kind of crazy lights and shit. But yeah, I think there's something to that,
Is this the stuff that you haven't opened up to us about yet?
Yeah, maybe, possibly, but I definitely think that's, I guess what I'm saying is that, these things can be very personal, right? Just because it's in the sky, a lot of times nobody's looking in the sky. So something that's happening anomalous like that in the sky above you, that, you'll be lucky to find multiple witnesses. Sometimes it's just you, man. And sometimes it's personally doing it just for you.
That seems to be a theme running through tonight, that there is a lot of, it's personal sometimes with anything paranormal. And I don't mean that to say that that's in people's heads or anything like that, but it is emotional and personal. And just that gave me the chills, the thought that something is happening in the sky that only you're seeing.
Yeah, it's an engagement, right? It's a commingling. These things don't just put on a light show for nobody to watch them. They do it for the people that are looking up, and we've said it 100 times on this podcast. It seems to be that when you look into the phenomenon, and the phenomenon is used as an umbrella term for ghosts, for aliens, for UFOs, for angels, demons. When you're looking into this stuff, seriously looking into this stuff and asking big questions and sort of trying to track it down, it has a way of noticing that you're doing that, and it wants to sometimes reach out and say hi back.
Ooh.
Yeah, I wonder if these UFO experiences some people are having when it's just that light in the sky is like, it's almost like a harbinger saying like, hey, just so you know, some weird shit's coming up, and this is like, it begins now. It's like, we're just here to show you that it's going to start with this.
Yeah.
So keep your eye out.
I mean, that's the thing, I'm reading that book, Passport to Magonia by Jacques Vallée.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Is that our book club book? We didn't ever.
Well, we haven't discussed it as a book club. I'm only about a fifth of a way through. It's a great one for our book club. I mean,
maybe that's what we should do.
I've never read Jacques Vallée from cover to cover before, and so I wanted to read this one. But in a lot of the cases that he talks about, you find a lot of like what I've just been saying, like somebody will have a crazy experience, and it's hardly ever just one. It seems to take place either not just like, kind of over and over, but sometimes you look back and it happens to individuals throughout their entire lives. It's really strange.
Bryce, stop keeping secrets about what books you're reading from us. Why don't you quit reading those books and read this next L file?
Yeah, let's do it. This one is called Prophecies and Ramblings. Hey, Michael, Bryce, Riley, and Jen. I put Jen in there because you deserve it. And give
Thank
extra
you.
pets and ear scratches to Nova for me. Also, hello, guest. I sure love you and that thing that you do. You're the bee's knees. Okay, right on. I hope you're all surviving the craziness well enough. I've been debating with myself whether or not I should share this story because, well, it makes me sound that extra step beyond cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You're in a safe space, don't worry. But it's just been nagging at me, and I feel like I just need to share. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. It's kind of, super depressing. I'll try to keep it short. When my mom was younger, long before she had even met my father, her brother introduced her to a woman named Olga Marie. His partner at the time made him go with her to meet with Olga Marie, who was a psychic. Or, of course, all my mom calls her is my psychic, so I have no idea beyond that. Olga Marie asked my uncle to see the woman who was his sister in every way but blood. My mom was adopted because it was very important that she needed to speak with her. Fast forward to my mom having sessions with Olga Marie. They talked about many things, but a main point was this. In somewhere around 2017, 2020-ish, my mom is a bit hazy on when exactly it was, there was a possibility that something terrible was going to happen to the earth, and my mom would be in a position that she could help people. Oh, man. She told her that she would live on a farm, and people would come to her for food and shelter in a communal type setting, and it was imperative that she did not turn them away. My mom at the time wore designer clothes, lived in a white carpeted, white furnished apartment with her roommate Mark, and never dreamed of being on a farm or anything like this. In fact, it wasn't until years later when she had married my dad, had me, and inherited an old 70-acre farm in Aurora, Oregon, that she even thought about this possible future. She'd mentioned it to me in passing a few times, but it was always just a lofty, well, isn't that coincidence type thing. Now, I'm not saying this is the end of the world or anything. I'm not into apocalyptic fear-mongering bullshit, but, well, let's just say, as of recent, it's been a topic of conversation more and more often. My mom says she has the tape recordings of her sessions somewhere, but can't seem to find them, and I'm staying away from her due to virus concerns, so I can't go look for myself. I'll let you know if we find them, though. Anyway, stay safe, be well, and if shit goes sideways, you can make your way up I-5. That's what we Oregonians call the 5. To a little farm in Aurora, Oregon, and we'll keep you safe and fed. Give Nova some more ear scratches for me and a boop on the nose, Molly. Well, thank you, Molly. That wasn't super depressing at all. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I'm glad you did. What do you guys think of that?
I'll be honest with you. I was thinking about Animal Crossing the entire time that I was listening to the story. Which is a note to self. I've been playing that game too. Like Olga Marie in my mind was the turnip lady who shows up on Sundays. And then when she was discussing the farm and this little paradise, I was like, oh yeah, I could plant some mums in there. I'm going to put in some peach trees. I'm going to build an orchard. And the music was just kind of taking me away. I don't think it seemed apocalyptic. It was kind of cool. And I really know that we have a place to go if shit does go sideways.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, we should stay in touch.
I had an evil thought of course, that's what, the ghost who's going to murder all of you would say.
Now you're getting
Good
it.
point.
Now you're getting it, Jen.
So I got scared when I heard that part. Yeah, I didn't think it was depressing. I don't know. I didn't really.
Well, I think depressing in that she's saying maybe, it's the end of the world or whatever.
Oh, got it. Listen, were we promised a world that didn't end? No.
Good point.
Yeah.
Why do we assume? Who are we to not have a little world ending?
Also, maybe Olga Marie is wrong? Am I going to get in trouble?
No, not at all.
No.
Is Olga Marie going to be mad at me that I said that?
How dare you doubt Olga Marie?
Listen, a lot of people, this is another common theme in and sort of the contactee experience is sort of these apocalyptic visions of the world coming to an end, and there's always sort of a message that goes along with it, like denuclearization and save the climate and all that stuff. And what's interesting about these sort of apocalyptic visions
that's them. That's Molly and her mother putting that on this vision. Olga Maria was just saying, I see you living in a farm in Oregon someday. Yeah, around 2017, 2020.
Right, but I guess so. But didn't she say in her letter that she sort of felt that that's why she was saying it? I don't know. Maybe
she said like giving out food to the community and stuff.
Yeah, there was some.
But that could be like a cool, hipster farm too.
But I wanted to say this though. There's been a lot of sort of.
She did say that something terrible was going to happen to the Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
I must have been thinking about Animal Crossing at that point. Okay, I take it all back. My apologies.
I could just say, rest assured, these guys who have these UFO cults and always claim the end of the world or a comet's going to take them away. It never comes true. It never comes true when they're going to say it. It never comes true how they're going to say it. And, there was a great quote from Jesus, and I'm probably going to misquote it, but he said, no one will know the time and the place. And basically that what that is if anybody tells you a certain date of the end of the world, you can just know for a fact that that's bullshit. No one will ever know when and where it's going to go down. It's just not going to happen like that. It's the same way.
Sounds like Jesus was avoiding answering a question that he didn't know the answer to.
Or he was making fun of everyone. He's like, they're not going to know the time and place. Nobody ever gets things right. No one writes things down.
Yeah, that's exactly
when
right.
I tell them to meet me here, they're like, wait, when is it again?
Well, and it's the same.
You're not going to know because you people don't listen to me.
It's the same exact thing that I think we've said on this show, and I think even John Tenney said it. And I've always felt that it was true. Anybody who says they know exactly what's going on in regards to UFO aliens or ghosts or paranormal activity or angels or demons, then they're full of shit. Nobody has a stake in knowing exactly what's going on. Everybody, even the best.
Yeah, it's a good way to avoid It's a good way to avoid getting caught up in cults and things like that. Like, just don't really go after people who say they have all the answers. You're right. It's like just a good rule to live by.
It really is. Absolutely.
On the converse, too, by that logic, if we predict that the world's going to end every day forever, then it never will.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
The more apocalyptic it feels, the less likely it is to happen.
Amen.
Well, I like
that.
That's some OCD thinking. I like that.
All right, Riley, dig into that mailbag and pull out another letter from our listeners.
Let's see.
This is called My Personal Paranormal Experience.
Hi, BCC team. I'm a relatively new listener to your podcast, but I must say I am hooked. I have absolutely torn through your old episodes, sometimes listening to up to 5 per day. You guys are hilarious, and I'm very thankful you do what you do. You provide much-needed respite from the monotony of day-to-day life and are doing a great service for the entire paranormal community. Thank you. Here's my most recent experience. I'll try to keep this brief. Whenever anyone says I'll try to keep this brief, nothing is ever brief. About 8 months ago.
For Moby
if anyone says that ever. Yeah.
And then follows it with 8 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Our story begins. Okay.
1955.
About 8 months ago at around 11 p.m., I'm watching TV in my living room. At the time, we had 3 pets, an Aussie Blue Heeler mix, Django, and 2 cats, Joby and Myra.
Great names.
Yes, killer dog names and cat names. It's important to note that my dog is completely deaf and partially blind. His coat is icy white, and he borders on albinism. Django and my then girlfriend, now wife, were in bed asleep by that hour as per their normal routine. Out of the corner of my eye, I see what I assume to be Django, emerging from the hallway, walking through the living room and into the kitchen. It was all white, walked on all 4s, and had an animal-like gait. I even heard the claws clacking against our hardwood floor in rhythm with its steps.
Jen.
The only thing that seemed off was its head seemed round like a human, not triangular with pointy ears like a canine.
No bueno.
At first I thought nothing of it. How could you think nothing of that? And thought it was only my dog. But I then turned to see my cats. Whatever walked into my kitchen had earned their complete and undivided attention. One of my cats was even propped up on its back feet, craning around the corner giraffe neck style to see what was in the kitchen. I walk into our kitchen expecting to see my dog, but find nothing. I will also point out that our kitchen was a dead end, and that my dog would have to walk past me again to get out of the kitchen. There was nothing. I go to the bathroom to find my pup fast asleep.
Bedroom.
Bedroom, thank you.
It's just important for the story.
Multitasking. It is.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm reading
Well,
along,
good.
and I'm enwrapped.
I'm multitasking. I follow suit and lay down to go to sleep. The next day, I tell my significant other about my experience, who looked very concerned. She explained that earlier that night, something had woken Django up, which is very hard for a deaf and partially blind dog. She said that he got up and went to the bedroom threshold where he tracked something with his vision down our hallway. Turned around and then went back to bed. This freaked me out, to say the least.
Good. It should.
A few days later, my wife has almost the exact same experience, but instead it was in broad daylight. And the entity walked into the bathroom rather than the kitchen.
Oh, hell no.
We both agreed that we felt an abnormal feeling of calm and tranquility when our experiences happened. We didn't feel threatened in the slightest bit. Fast forward a couple months, we move out of the apartment and into our first home. Additionally, by this time we have a new pup, Kiba, who's also deaf. He was in the midst of crate training, so his enclosure was nestled closely by our bed and was padlocked so he didn't get out. He's quite the escape artist. I get up at 5 a.m. to use the bathroom, and while doing my business, I hear the pitter-patter of little paws shuffling towards me. It's dark, but I look down to see the black outline of our puppy and feel him as he jumps up on my leg and lightly digs his claws into my thigh. A typical greeting for him. He skitters away and leaves me totally perplexed. How the hell did he get out of his kennel? I grab my phone as a source of light and peer down to find Kiba in his kennel fast asleep with a latched padlock on the door. I knew at that moment that whatever we saw at our old apartment had followed us to this new house. I'm usually a very nervous person, but once again, in the moment, I felt incredible peace and safety, almost like it was imparted to me from an external source. I never feel this calm on my own. Since then, I've continued to see things out of the corner of my eye. Just the other day, my wife saw someone pop their head around the corner and look dead at her, then quickly retreat. I'm not sure what this entity could be, perhaps a doppelganger or sprite that is able to change forms. Do you guys have any thoughts on what it may be? I feel like it even may take the forms of things near and dear to my heart as to not scare me and my family. Whatever it is, I'm okay with it, as long as it continues to bring peace and tranquility whenever it emerges. I have some more stories that I would like to share at a later date. Maybe next time I'll leave a voice message detailing some of my other experiences.
How the fuck is a head popping around the corner peace and tranquility?
I don't know.
I have a theory here, but I want to hear what you guys think first.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, Bryce, you summed up what I think is like, how is that these things seem at odds? Like dog creature with human head walking around in your kitchen.
Yeah,
it's not like I just feel so calm.
No, that is not cool.
It's like nightmare fuel.
It is.
This one for me, I have to sit out because it's so out of my depth of being able to believe it. It's not that I think this person is lying, but this is just not. I mean, if I worked with someone who said this, I'd be like, I have to go to human resources. I mean, I know I sound judgmental. It's just, I can't comprehend. So I just want to listen to what you guys think.
Yeah. I'm with Riley. how can you, those sound like creepy encounters to me. I don't know how, I mean, but if your inner senses are telling you that it's, you're feeling peaceful and tranquil, that's great. I mean, I would be like, I'd be saging that shit up like a motherfucker.
Well,
saging like a motherfucker.
I had a thought here. I'm wondering.
Okay.
This guy and his wife, I believe it's a guy, seem like they really care and tend for animals. You know, they're
Totally.
taking care of 2 dogs that are deaf, one's blind. Like, this doesn't sound like, it seems like I would not be surprised, and I get the impression that this couple goes out of their way to care for animals that would have a harder life without them, and that maybe taking care of animals that other people would not want the responsibility or the time to care for them. And something makes me think that whatever this entity might be is some type of spirit guide or animal spirit that is acknowledging and appreciating what this couple is doing.
I like that read on it. Yeah.
And that this is some primordial force that's hanging around, perhaps is also trying to take care of these dogs in its pack that are of special needs, and that these guys, you know, it's just coming by to acknowledge that, because the little puppy coming up, and none of it feels super threatening. You know, if they were having a gut reaction that was differently. Now, it seems creepy to us. Why wouldn't it be? A dog with a human head is fucking terrifying. But I almost feels like there is some type of spirit, animal spirit, that is, because it also has shades of shapeshifters, not necessarily skinwalker, but like it kind of has that sort of feeling to it too, that this is some kind of animal spirit that's hanging around, perhaps is even one of their animal spirit guides that they're very much in tune with, that is helping them bring these dogs and helping them care for these dogs. That's a guess that I would have. Now, I'm getting chills as I'm saying this, so I think I'm probably right.
Yeah.
I like your take on it. It makes it, because before I was like, I'm not trying to say I don't believe someone, I just can't comprehend. But that helps me comprehend something.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like it's like a pan, like nature spirit or something. It makes the hybrid seems a little less scary in that.
And, you know, I just big shout out to all those animal lovers who take care of, and the responsibility of taking care of animals with disabilities. I love that. And God bless you. I think that's just fucking great. I really do.
Yeah. Word.
Great story. Okay, Jen, close us out with our final L files of the night, would you please?
Of course. All right. The title is Meditation Strange Experience. I was just listening through the back catalog and landed on the Allagash, hope I'm saying that correctly.
Yep.
Allagash abduction episode with Greg Hess. And a good portion of the beginning of the show, you guys are talking about transcendental meditation, TM. Now, I must preface this with the fact that I am not experienced in TM. I do not have formal training / learning for it. My brother does it, and he has some belief that not all aspects of it can be taught, that it's something you gain with time because it is unique to the person. But there are other aspects that must be learned to get there, etc. I'm not experienced in meditation, but I do like to try to free my mind space and clear my thoughts by quietly listening to my breathing and allowing my mind to wander, not really hanging on to any thoughts that pass through.
That's basically meditation. It's
the best description I've heard. She says, I don't know that counts as meditation, but it feels useful to me, and sometimes refer to it as that. Anyway.
I think this listener's or this writer-inner is anonymous, but I do think it's a gentleman. Just
okay.
If that changes anything.
It changes nothing except that I called him a her. So apologies, sir. Anyway, allowing my thoughts to wander is pretty normal for me when I do this, and my mind can feel quite liberated when I'm through. So while I don't do it as often as I probably should, my method of meditating does seem to help. It's on one particular occasion that something happened while I was deep in thought. Something that's not happened before or since. I was actually at my office this time, and I was having a rough day, so I decided to find a quiet spot during my lunch hour that I could just simply close my eyes and dive into my thoughts, allowing myself to sink into a more relaxed state. I don't know how long I was under like this, but I know I was late coming back from lunch, and the experience had the sensation that I had just sat down when I opened my eyes again. At some point during the process, I had the overwhelming feeling that everything around me was dark, and I had a sinking sensation come over me. It almost felt like water or waves pulling me down. And then suddenly, it wasn't there anymore. As quickly as that started, I just as quickly had the realization that I was somewhere else. The physical sensation that I was, in fact, somewhere else. This felt as real to me as these keys that I'm using to type you this email. In that moment, I found myself standing under a large old tree with a couple of other trees around me, slightly smaller or younger. It was bright and sunny. I could see rays of light peering through the leaves above me, and I could feel, literally feel, the warmth on my face. It wasn't clear if I was in a grove or a forest, but it felt very familiar. Like I had been there before, but I do not recognize it. Then, in the corner of my peripheral vision, a hand came into focus just before me. Not disembodied, but I couldn't see the person it was attached to, as though they were just out of eyesight and I could never quite see them. It raised up to my face as a closed hand just a few inches away from me. And then it opened, but nothing was there. At least not originally. Shortly after the hand opened, a large, ragged, old peacock feather rose up from behind the hand and centered itself upon its quill in the middle of the palm. It looked very, very old. The plumage or little feathery barbs were sparse and scraggly, but what was nearly perfect was the eye of the feather, and it felt alive? Like an actual eyeball looked back at me, but looked only like the eye of a peacock feather. It had slight movement and felt fully alive as I watched it. What's also odd about that moment was that it felt like a message or communication, sort of like when you're talking to someone in a social setting and you can tell by their body language or social cues that they're trying to convey something to you without actually saying it. That's the sensation I had when I was presented this feather. And it was oddly, strangely, weirdly comforting. I closed my eyes in that grove, and when I opened them again, I was back at my office. And I had a feeling of comfort initially, which quickly turned into an overwhelming sensation that I had, in fact, had a supernatural experience. Now, there's no way for me to validate what I've saw and felt, but in my heart and in mind, I know it was real. What I don't know is what it means. I don't know, and I don't want to know. So I was wondering if you guys had heard of anything like this, visions of feathers or peacock symbols in dreams or other supernatural encounters like this. It felt like I was being told something, but I still do not know what. What's odd is part of me feels like that feather or whatever it represented is always with me, like it's watching or sees me. So guys, what do you think? Thanks so much for your time. I know it was a long story, but I appreciate your help. Side note, I also have one other story of high strangeness from a visitation by two beings in the night when I was a teenager, but I'll save that for another email if you guys are interested in hearing it. Thank you for not making me read that one. That sounds good. Please let me know your thoughts. Take care and get regressed, Z.
Wow. Awesome.
Well, I was doing a little Googling as you were reading this.
Yeah,
and I've
me too,
got
man.
some
Peacocks?
stuff. On peacock symbology. And so the first thing that popped up was peacocks are considered as vain and foolish birds and tend to display their feathers as a sign of vanity. Okay, but a peacock feather is said to absorb negative energies and protect the wearer from any bad happenings.
Yeah.
It is also thought of as a symbol of good luck in most parts of the world. And the eye, that pattern on the peacock, looks like an eye and it sometimes represents the all-seeing eye of God. So the fact that they felt like they were being watched, there's a connection to that with the pattern of the feather.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as she mentioned peacock and peacock feather, that's a deep symbol in esoterica. I mean, that's probably one of the top 25 symbols in esoteric lore and literature. That's crazy. So yeah, that could have been a transcendental moment for sure. I have no doubt. Yeah, meditating's trippy, man.
Nobility, holiness, guidance, protection, watchfulness. Contemplate the powers of the peacock when you need more vibrancy and vitality in your experience. The peacock can also help you on your spiritual path and breathe new life into your walk of faith. I'm reading this from whatsyoursign.com. But Z, just take a good Google tour, and I think that you'll find some meaning there for sure.
And I just saw something too in Hinduism. The peacock is associated with Saraswati, a deity representing benevolence, patience, kindness, compassion, and knowledge. Peacocks have a special relation with Lord Krishna. He wears peacock feathers on his head, and they're so it's this. Yeah, there's a lot in every religion. In Christianity, it's the symbol of eternal life. So it's like every religion, the peacock is a big deal, which is funny because you don't, off the top of your head, think of a peacock as religious.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I used to. Go ahead, Mike.
No, please,
I just think of NBC.
I used to. I was trying to think of what, but I listened to a lot of Terrence McKenna, and he would often talk about the peacock and the peacock feather, and he would use it in an analogy of some of his deep psychedelic trips. He called it the quintessence. Anyway, I don't know something, but yeah, he
quintessence, sentience,
quintessential, quintessence,
Quetzalcoatl.
That's it, Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl. But yeah, no, that's crazy. Yeah, the peacock. That was a great.
I just liked how that story was very nicely written. I really kind of got lost in that one.
I know your readers are such good writers.
They do.
Yeah, they're you guys are on fire. These stories keep getting better and better and better, and we really appreciate it. If you are listening and you have a story that you want to be read on an upcoming Elf Files episode, please write us an email at BigfootCollectorsClub@gmail.com, and it might be featured on an upcoming episode. Maybe Jen Kirkman will read your story. I want to thank Jen. Yes. You never know. I really want to thank Jen for joining us, the godmother of the podcast, the peacock feather of the Bigfoot Collectors Club.
Yep.
Jen, like Bigfoot, where in the woods can you be found?
Wait, can I just say one more thing before we go?
Yeah, please.
I want to throw out a topic maybe you guys could do on an episode sometime, or maybe I'll write in a letter, but I sent you a DM, Michael. I don't know if you got it. It was like last week. There was an interesting thread on Twitter that was scaring the F out of me.
Did you slide into my DMs?
I slid into them.
I didn't see it. Sliding up into my DMs.
I was like, I could text him, but I want this to be sexy. There was.
Meanwhile, I'm like, Animal Crossing. That's all I do now.
I'm sending dick pics. Like, what the hell?
I'm fishing for zebra turkey fish.
There was a thread that someone wrote that I thought was so fascinating that said, this is just, I want to hear your weird stories of things that you lost and never found again that make no sense that they went missing. And they were the tiniest, smallest stories of like, I was writing in my diary on my bed and I put the pen down and I turned around and it was gone and I took off my sheets and my bedding. I mean, things like that, or I had a tube of lipstick in my glove, whatever, in the seat next to me. And then I had to all these things were like people dropped something and then it just went away, dropped something on the kitchen floor and you never found it again. And they were all terrifying. It was the smallest thing and they were scarier than any big time ghost story. And I was wondering if you've ever done an episode about, or if there is any kind of paranormal about objects that go missing into some other realm only to come back.
It's really funny that you mentioned that, Jen, because just last week or 2 weeks ago with Henry Zabrowski, his story was all about a belt that vanished from his apartment and he tore the place upside and down. And then it appeared in a very common place that he had checked. And he was under the theory that there was some sort of trickster entity fucking with him in his apartment.
I think there's I think there's a thing to it that I might research and
I think there are. There's probably I would start looking at some sort of, this sounds like a very, and I could be totally wrong, but this sounds like a very Swedish troll or like, some look into like Eastern or Western European lore of like little trolls that come and take stuff from you, because it sounds like I'm sure that there is a mythological entity whose job is just that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. All right. Good to know. I just want to let you know that if anyone wants to read anything scary, find that Twitter thread.
Great. Fantastic. You're on your own, folks.
No, maybe I'll retweet it, but people can find me. I don't know. I think Instagram is where it's at right now because I do a lot of my podcast stuff on there, and they can just check out my free podcast called Having Funlessness, and they can just go to my website, JenKirkman.com, or me on Instagram at Jen Kirkman.
Fantastic. Bryce, Riley, anything?
The Spindrift album is charting on college radio, which is really, really exciting. We hit number 57 on the college radio charts. Which is
fucking tastic, dude!
Bananas.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that it was supposed to be out by now, but because we were on tour leading up to the release and then the whole pandemic global situation happened, so we cut our tour short, and the album is like. It's in limbo. It'll come out eventually, but I don't know when. But
so it's just out for radio release, not for consumers yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So the only place you can hear it right now is on college and independent radio. So if anybody is listening to college and independent radio, maybe give them a little call.
Yeah, I was going to say, call them up old school style and request a song from Spindrift.
Yeah. I love that. It's so old school. Congrats.
Hey, we're keeping it old school. Yeah, and it's really exciting. I've never been on the radio charts that high before.
I used to call the radio when I was a kid and ask them to play a song and dedicate it to a girl that I liked at school.
Oh, yeah. That was the best, man.
That was a fucking move, dude.
Yeah.
Did she hear it, or was she like, I was playing Animal Farm?
She was reading Animal Farm. She was a lot smarter than me. Everybody, you can follow us on Instagram, Bigfoot Collectors Club, and on Twitter at Bigfoot Pod. Also, please go to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. It really will help bring the show to more people. And if you write us a good one, we'll read it right here on the show, like this one. This is from Poosably Mitch. He calls us the greatest podcast, 5 stars. One of the best podcasts out there. These 3 have great chemistry, and it's always a joy to listen to. Really sparked a genuine interest in the paranormal, cryptos, and my personal favorite extraterrestrials and ultra-terrestrials, along with a funny feeling. Another shout out. Check them out too. Keep doing what you're doing, and don't forget to subscribe to The Other Side. Oh my God, this guy covered the bases.
What a review.
Thank you so much, Poosably Mitch. We love you. Keep listening to the show. And for the rest of you, thanks for supporting us, listening, and until next time, good night.
And go get regressed?
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Jen. We love you so much.
I love you guys more. I'm so scared I'm going to have to watch this.
I'll be up for a while.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.